right, Shalom. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, and double honors to our elders and apostles of great millstone that taught us his truth, peace, love, and salutations to the old Philip Akim, teaching and preaching his truth with all righteousness and sincerity. Zak Yawasop. Today's lesson is entitled, let me get it, When the Land Sinneth Against Me by Trespassing Grievously. Lord willing, you be edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, the true names of the Heavenly Father and his only begotten Son, whom the world ignorantly calls Lord God, and Jesus Christ, the Savior of the children of Israel. And as always, our lessons, our street speaking, the sit downs is for the remnant, the elect, the Israel of the Most High, and to use the gospel preach. Shalom. So it seems like every week, new information is coming out about famine, which the prophecies speak about in the last days. There will be famine, but it's just being made more clearer and clearer and clearer as we inch closer and closer to the end. So I have this from westernstandardonline.com, and it's entitled Exclusive Destruction of Food Plants, a Global Phenomenon. And one of the beloved brothers posted it in the chat. So, we got to go in. All right. And I got not only this, I also have this from Newsbreak, and it's entitled Rise in Food Prices Mean Chicken Could Soon Cost as Much as Beef, says Co-op. I also went into food plants. I typed in food plants here on YouTube, and there's videos going into, basically dozens of food processing plants being set on fire. All right. One, a plane crashed into, and another, fires is just randomly popping up. Now we know that this famine is going to be a systematic famine. All right. And at the end of the day, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, which is ruling the earth in wickedness, he know that he have but a short time. So in order for him to get people to submit to his NWO, he's going to be doing these type of systematic events. And at the end of the day, man's goings of the Lord. So the Lord is putting a spirit on Esau to do this because, hey, we at the time of the end. All right. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna actually start off with a precept just real quick, just get the spirit going in Matthew, the 24th chapter. All right. Words of our Lord Yahweh Shai. Now, Matthew, the 24th chapter goes into two different time periods. This goes into the Roman siege of Jerusalem that happened between 66 AD to 73 AD as well. And this chapter also goes into the return of, our Lord Yahweh Shai. All right. So, you got to rightly divide this chapter in truth. So now when we go here to Matthew, the 24th chapter, the 7th verse, it says, for nation shall rise up against nation. When you go into this word nation, it goes back to the Greek word ethnos, which is where you get the word ethnicity from. And this national is a kindred to people, tribes of people. So you're going to have a social divide and kingdom against kingdom. You're hearing about the war in Ukraine, Russians against the Ukrainian, which is dragging America into it, and also the EU and different countries. All right. And it says, and there shall be famines, plural. So there's going to be famines in different areas. All right. And the focal point of the Lord's destruction is Babylon the Great, which is America. And pestilences, plural. These different strands of the variant. All right. And earthquakes in diverse places. So these are not, different natural disasters, whether it's earthquakes, whether it's tornadoes, hurricanes. All right. Different weather phenomena that's destroying land masses. All right, you can add that into that as well. So, at the end, there's going to be these different things that's going to be happening in the world, which these will be signs to let us know what time and season that we're in. And as it says here, all these are the beginning of sorrows. So, these different, things that's quoted here in this verse, this is the beginning. All right, because we know that in order for the end to come, which we're at the beginning of the end. When the end comes, we know that the charagma, the implantable technology, has to be implemented. And we right there at the door. All right. Because food is going to be a weapon that these elites is going to use to have the inhabitants of the earth to submit into their order. So it says beyond North American food processing plants, there have been dozens more food processing facilities destroyed in fires and explosions the last 2 years, So, there's some footage there. All right. Another thing that's interesting, you got Bill Gates, buying a whole bunch of different land masses. A lot of farmers is getting bought out of, you know, their land and businesses, so on and so forth. You got bird flu, pandemic happening at these different food processing facilities, and it's causing these people to burn and destroy a lot of the chickens, you know, the eggs, the chickens. All right, and that's what this is going into. And this is going to aid all into the famine. All right, it says after an exclusive story looking at how a string of food processing facilities in North America have been destroyed, the Western Standard has found dozens more incidents around the globe. So, as I was mentioning earlier, when we was going into Matthew chapter 24, verse 7, when it says famines, it's plural. So it's not going to just be happening here in Babylon the Great, which is America. It's going to be happening all throughout the earth because the global elites are these Edomites, the shadow government, these banking families. This agenda is a worldwide agenda. However, the focal point of destruction here is in Babylon. All right. So going back to the article, once again, it says dozens. The Western Standard has found dozens more incidents around the globe. So it's happening all over the place. It says food shortages are growing concern globally. Another word for food shortage is famine. They use words like food insecurity, food shortages. All right. The scriptures call it famine. And, Esau, they try to be, PC about, this stuff. When it comes to Yahweh Shemel Shai, the God of the Bible, the God of the universe, the God of the Israelites, we ain't being PC. We giving it to you straight. It says are a growing concern globally and have exacerbated a string of fires, plane crashes, and explosions at nearly 24. Dozen is 12, so you times that by 2, that's almost 24 because it says nearly. It says food processing facilities across Canada and the U.S. It says, and beyond North American food processing plants, there have been dozens more food processing facilities destroyed in fires and explosions in the last 2 years. So this is beginning to be a trend. All right. It says crews are battling large fires at Riverway Foods on Tuesday at sausage factory in the UK. 70 firefighters from across Essex in Hertfordshire are on scene as reported by the BBC. All right. So I'm gonna post this in the chat just in case bros want to double back on this and pull out what they want to pull out on it. All right, and then let's go here. It says rising feed prices mean chicken could soon cost as much as beef, says co-op. So feed prices is rising, and then you have a bird disease that's going around that's killing a lot of chickens. So you just got more fuel to the fire. It says chickens relatively affordable has helped make the country's meat of choice, but one of the UK's biggest food retailers have warned it could soon be pricey as beef as production costs soar. All right, we're not gonna read all of this. Obviously, we're just gonna hit these key points. All right, and just get this information out there. All right, it says Steve Murrells, chief executive of Co-op, said that feed costs have become a huge challenge for the poultry industry. Poultry, that's chicken, that's your quail, that's your turkey, so on and so forth. Chicken could become as expensive as beef. Chicken, which was incredibly cheap and great value for money is rising quicker than any other protein. Chicken is the country's most popular meat, with consumption levels far outstripping beef, lamb, or pork. At a time when household food bills are already rising, higher priced chicken is likely to have a disproportionate impact on lower income families. And as I said here, at a time when household food bills are already rising, because you not only have the food shortage, the food insecurity, which is famine happening, you have a lot of financial insecurity situations going on. You know what I mean? It's hard to find a decent job and earn livable wages, which that's also fuel to the fire. High grocery bills are unaffordable housing. Here in Los Angeles, they saying that, it's been a great exodus. A lot of individuals are getting the hell up out of here because the cost of living is ridiculous. All right. You add that with the homeless rates, the pandemic, these businesses still suffering. All right. Um, Property costs here is getting outstanding. The price of cars is going up. All right, and the middle class being phased out. The mentality of the people is finna change, man. It's gonna become a dog eat dog world. Now, since I mentioned that, I want to go over here to Second Edris, the 15th chapter, because the prophecies speak about how basically the mind frame of the inhabitants is going to change. You know, the whole American dream, that shit is a thing of the past. Second Edges 15 and 14, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Woe is death and destruction. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. And we read that in Matthew the 24th chapter, the 7th verse, nation against nation. So you're going to have people standing up against each other with swords in their hands. And a modern day sword ultimately is the ICBM missile technology. But these people will have rifles, shotguns, pistols, bats, chains, Mavatel cocktails, anything, all right, they can get their hands on to protect themselves. For there shall be sedition among men. Now, sedition is conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against authority or a monarch. So people's going to come to the understanding that this system isn't for them. And as I was mentioning various facts just a moment ago, you got housing being unaffordable. The cost of living is unaffordable, financial insecurity, food insecurity, hard to find a job that's paying livable wages. All right. And then the famine on top of that, people's gonna, mount up, you know, and try to, you know, hey, basically come in and rebel against the government. It says in invading one another, you have people running into houses, searching it, looking for any, resources. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, in the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So people's gonna say to hell with the presidents, the mayors, the governors, these different politicians, the sheriffs, the various different police departments, and they're gonna, stand up. All right. But see, what Esau is gonna do is he's gonna use the food as a weapon to combat this, and we see how it's being done, and it's being done systematically. All right. It says, a man shall desire to go into the city and shall not be able. Why? Because there's going to be checkpoints, lockdowns, curfews, martial law, and you're not going to be able to travel and get up out of here. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. So, it's going to be a different mentality that's going on in these cities in these coming days. And don't let social media fool you. If you're on social media scrolling up and down all day, and you paying attention to what's going on with the gala and the music industry, and it's gonna be summer and it's concerts, you're gonna, continually be in darkness, you know, because all that, party and bullshit and entertainment, that is set up to be a distraction. you know, distracting you from what's really going on. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and great tribulation. So that's your famine, the lack of bread. And that lack of bread is going to enable that great tribulation. People going to lose it. All right. Now let's get back to uh, going into these food processing plants. Now, I got this here from WCNC. Now, as a disclaimer, because they like to strike down our videos when we're going into this type of content. This is for educational purposes. All right. I don't own the content. All right.
Now our verified team is.
So we're going to go ahead and go into it. This is entitled, "No, People Are Not Setting Food Processing Plants on Fire Intentionally in Order to create a food shortage." Now, with us being on the internet and we bringing out the counsel of the Lord, the prophecies, we're exposing Esau, Edom, and his agenda. So therefore, he has to come out and, say stuff like this. All right. So don't be deceived by these little titles that they put. This is, once again, this is a systematic food shortage. Tune in.
Looking into claims about fires after several U.S. food processing plants went up in flames in recent months.
The WCNC Charlotte's Megan Bragg looks into what we know about the circumstances tonight.
Recent fires at food processing plants across the U.S. have several people speculating online if something else is behind them. This tweet notes a, quote, odd coincidence that, quote, 18 U.S. food processing facilities burned down in the last 6 months. The question that we're looking at today, are people setting food processing plants on fire intentionally in order to create a food shortage? Let's verify. Our sources, Sam Gage-Jack, the communications manager for the American Association of Meat Processors, Sarah Little, the vice president of communications for the North American Meat Institute, Tom Super, the senior vice president of communications for the National Chicken Council, fire officials in each case, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture, otherwise known as the USDA. In a statement, Little told us, quote, "We are not aware of any concerted effort to set food processing facilities on fire."
These people that hold these high titles within these different businesses, man, these people are all paid off, man. And they can come out with their testimonies and say that, nothing is happening. All right. All they want. But at the end of the day, we know that the prophecies speak about a famine. So whether they know it or not, the Lord is causing things to happen. All right.
Super told us, quote, "I can only speak for chicken, but like any manufacturing plant industry, there are genuinely a few fires that occur each year across the country. Most of them are contained rather quickly." Gage-Jack agrees.
We've not seen anything that points to it being suspicious in any way. A lot of them seem to be mechanical failures or just that, very unfortunate, tragic things that happen, but nothing that was deliberate.
Now, I have education in PLC, which is programmable logic controllers, where there's certain systems that these facilities use that they have production lines and they have sensors and motors and different mechanics in order to get product from one side of the facility to the next. Now, a part of that programming or the logic, there's certain data that can be programmed into the system for it to do certain things. All right, you could program a malfunction. So yeah, they can say, oh yeah, it malfunctions, so on and so forth. But you can have individuals that are putting coded malfunctions within the system to cause these different things to happen, and you can control the facility's machinery or infrastructure remotely. So it could be someone that's so-called hacking this and causing different things to happen. You understand? So they could come out and say, "Oh well, these things happen and blah 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 blah." But come on now, over 18 U.S. food producing facilities, all caught on fire. That's a little suspicious. But tune in.
So let's break down the number on what we learned from fire officials. 11 of the fires were either ruled accidental or no foul play was suspected. 6 others are still under investigation. The other one was at a vacant building that once housed a meat plant but no longer does. Another note, while the tweet mentions 18 fires in 6 months, only 12 of them actually happened in that time frame. According to a report from the USDA, the U.S. has about 36,000 food and beverage processing establishments in operation. Gage Jack says fires at just 18 plants would not cause a disruption to the food supply.
So these individual fires, they might be disruptions for regular customers of those facilities, but the public as a whole shouldn't have seen any major difference.
Super says, quote, there are about...
You pretty much get the gist. So now I want to read a couple of these comments here. This is from the River of Gordon. Getting to the point when I see these fact checks and start to make me think the complete opposite of what they want me to think. Because one thing, all right, these people may not be in the truth, but they know that it's some fishy shit going on. But that's why Second Esdras, speak about how there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes in the course of their actions shall stand in their power, because, these inhabitants of America, which is Babylon the Great, they're gonna uprise, man. A lot of truth is coming out, a lot of different information about particular things is coming out. So people is bracing themselves and they're gonna, as I said earlier, take matters into their own hands. You got a lot of different YouTube accounts, like Off Grid Desert Farming. They be bringing out certain things, certain as they call it, conspiracies. And people are starting to heed to that. This is Emma's mom. You guys are doing a good job, other than the 2 planes crashing into the plant in less than a month. Don't make it too obvious. Yeah, people's waking up, man. This is the last one. Will you bring up more questions than answers? Was anyone killed or injured in any of these fires? The places are equipped with fire suppression systems to minimize damage. Why aren't they containing the fires? While 18 processing plants isn't alarming on a large scale, it is in the local towns. And how many more coincidental fires are needed to become more effective? Like the supply chain mess. So people is waking up to it. And you got people who have backgrounds and history at working at these different plants, and they know the inner workings of the facility. So when they say, it's like that guy said, when there's a fire, you have a system in order to prevent the fire from spreading. So the shit is just looking very suspicious. Now let me see how we doing on time. 25 minutes in. All right, this is Ezekiel 14 and 12. The city will not be spared. Now, these judgments have happened in the past, but as it is written in Ecclesiastes 1, that which have been is that which shall be, and there is no new thing under the sun. So history repeats itself, right? It says the city will not be spared. The word of Yahweh came again to me, saying, Son of man, when the land sinneth against me by trespassing grievously, trespassing is going into sin and iniquity. So it's gonna, set the stage what's gonna happen while overwhelmingly amount of sin is happening here in the land. It says, then will I stretch out my hand upon it and I will break your staff of bread. That's your grocery stores, your meat processing plants, your Walmarts, your Targets, your Safeways, all these major grocery stores. That's your staff of bread. And I will send famine upon it, and I will cut off man and beast from it. So part of the destruction, the destruction that the Lord bring is famine. And as it says here, I will cut off man and beast from it. So in the times that we're coming, man and animals is gonna get destroyed. Though these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, which represents righteous men of the Lord, were in it, they shall deliver but their own souls by their righteousness, saith Yahweh. So the men of the Lord, the prophets that are out here doing the work, standing up for righteousness, edifying and teaching and building up the elect through the Spirit, which is the Lord building up the elect, all right, they will get delivered out of this situation. It says, if I cause noisome beasts to pass through the land, because that's another way the Lord judge, using animals. You read about the situation with Elisha and the 42 kids mocking Elisha. Elisha, put curses on them kids, and the Lord, honored it and sent 2 she-bears among them kids and killed them. Read about the situation with Jezebel, how she got destroyed by dogs. Situation with Egypt. The Lord was killing cattle and using flies and locusts and frogs and all kind of stuff to bring desolation into that land. It says, and they shall spoil it so that it become desolate, that no man may pass through because of the beast. Though these 3 men were in it, as I live, saith Yahweh, they shall deliver neither sons nor daughters. They only shall be delivered, but the land shall be desolate. Now we know that the Lord is going to have mercy, because the scriptures speak about the elect, which includes men, women, and children, but, the men that standing up for righteousness, the holy apostles and prophets, they got women and children, wives, so the Lord will be merciful unto us. Or if I bring a sword upon the land, Esau, Edom, his military, his navy, the coast guards, the police, and say, sword, go through the land so that I cut off man and beast from it. Though these 3 men were in it, as I live, saith Yahweh, they shall deliver neither sons nor daughters, but they only shall be delivered themselves. And the point is, the men of the Lord is going to have a covering. When you read Ezekiel, the 9th chapter, it speaks about the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. They going to have a mark on them, which that mark in the Hebrew is tawah, which means an exemption of judgment. And that's what we're laboring for through the Spirit. So, as I was mentioning earlier, famine is one of the tools that the Lord used for destruction. All right. And I typed in the word famine, and, various precepts came up. And, I would recommend you brothers to do the same. You can use this as a studying method. Type in the word famine and get all those precepts and go into them and read them. But as for the men of the Lord, we don't got nothing to worry about, because we're going to have a hedge of protection, Lord willing, we endure to the end. Things going to shake us up, but the Lord is going to get us through this fire. This is Isaiah 65, verse 13. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. So there's going to be 2 different type of attitudes going on. There's going to be the servants of the Lord that's eating and drinking and rejoicing at the downfall of the wicked. And then there's going to be the wicked, the ungodly, those who forsook the truth. They're going to be ashamed, hungry, and thirsty. All right. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, because we seeing the prophecies come to pass, and the Lord holding truth on the things that he said in the scripts. But ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit, because these people's going to know that it was a prophet among them, and they're going to mourn and lament, because when the doors of mercy was open, they understood it not, but forsook it. All right, but they going to know the truth, after death by pain. When they come back in the kingdom, they're going to know that they was Israelites, and you know, and they was going off, but those nations outside of Israel, death and destruction is coming unto them. So, you know, as we get closer and closer, you know, things are going to get weirder and weirder and stranger. All right. We're going to see Esau being as a madman, sparing none. And he's going to attack you by way of your food. So, Lord willing, you are edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to our elders and apostles, a great millstone that taught us his truth. And peace, love, and salutation to the hopeful elect. Shalom, Akim.